Hello, in this video we're going to look at classifying polynomials by degree and type. And for that we've got a little challenge for you. First, if it's to the 0 degree, then what type is it? And we've got the word scrambled up. Can you figure out what the type is for this? And then for the first degree, again, we have a scramble. What is the type? And then for the second degree, what is this term? And this one, we started it out with the correct letters, QU, and there's a letter T here. And can you fill in these other letters to come up with this type? And then if it's to the third degree, it starts with a CU, and what are the last three letters for this type? And then if it's to the fourth degree, there's a term quartic. But if you forget that term, and if you go on to the fifth degree, sixth, seventh, and so on, another way you can do it is just call it to the nth degree. So if it's a fourth degree, you could just say fourth degree, fifth degree, sixth degree. But these are terms that we can use for these degrees. And then standard form, when it's to the degree is 0, in this case it would be a constant. So for that we can just say function of x is a to the 0, x to the 0, excuse me. X to the 0 is 1, so it's just 1 times a. So basically, in that case, it's a constant. If it's to 1 degree, we have function of x is a times x to the 1. Of course, 1 is understood, so you can just say a to the x. And then if you have a constant, you could just say 8x to the 0, or I'll just say z, or c for constant. Okay. Another way that we can, what we can call this, some authors will use a sub 0, or c. So this you could say a sub 0 there. We'll call this a1 sub 1. But it's the coefficient of the x term, and this is the coefficient for a constant. So I'll put a 0 there. Now we get our terminology a little better. So a sub 0 times x to the 0, which x to the 0 is a 1. And here we have the a of the x term coefficient here, and this would be your constant. So another way you could say that would be a sub 1 x plus c. Alright, if it's second degree, okay, for that one we can put a sub 2 x squared. So you see our degree is 2, there's the 2. And then we have a sub 1 x, 1 is understood. And then we have a sub 0, which is a c. So that is, now what would that word be? I think we're far enough along we can go with that. So that's a quadratic. Quadratic is the type of the polynomial function. And we can see we've got an x squared term for quadratic. And then this degree here would be cubic, to the third degree. So we have f of x is equal to a sub 3 x cubed, and then a sub 2 x squared plus a sub 1 x plus a sub 0. That's a standard form for the cubic polynomial function. And then the next one, the quartic, we have f of x equals a sub 4 x to the fourth, plus a sub 3, x to the third, plus a sub 2, x squared, a sub 1, x, plus a sub 0. And it goes so on and so forth. Okay, give up on this one. This one is constant. And this term here is linear. So the types, when we have to the 0 degree, or it's a constant. To the 1 degree, it's linear. So we have here ax plus c is a linear equation, like y equals mx plus b. And then we have a quadratic when we have the highest x term is squared, x squared, and a cubic when we have an x cubed, and a quartic when we have x to the 4 as the highest term, the highest degree term. So that's a little short description of polynomial functions, degrees and types. Let's try to figure out polynomial expressions by the number of terms involved. So if we have one term, then we would call that a monomial. Oh, better get my spelling right. An example of that could be 4x squared. That's one term, so it's called a monomial. If we have two terms, we call that a binomial. And that could be something like 2x plus 3. There we have two terms, so it's called a binomial. If we have three terms, that we would call a trinomial. An example of that could be 3x squared plus 2x plus 7. There we have three terms, so it's called a trinomial. If it's more than three terms, greater than, well, let's just say if it's 4 or more terms, in that case, we'll just call it a polynomial. And of course, all of these are polynomials. A monomial, one term, binomial, two terms, trinomial, three terms. And then for anything larger than three terms, we'll just give it the general term of polynomial. So that, in a nutshell, is how we describe polynomial functions by the number of terms.